Okay. So I see some people opening up their email to get the link. So we'll have more people jumping in here any second. So tell me some wins. I'd like to hear some wins.
I wrote an offer last night.
That's a win. That's a big win.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the beginning of a. When you're writing an offer, that means you have you have a motivated person, right? Typically, because you hear me say it all the time, right? Motivated people take action, and so somebody that's not motivated, it's just they're not going to write an offer.
Right.
So.
No, these guys are highly motivated. So this is our second offer. We have a backup offer out too. So hopefully something goes in the works before I go out of town this week.
Oh, you're going out of town too, yeah. Well, yeah. The easiest way to get business is to plan to go out of town, and like the day of or the day before, all kinds of things just start happening. So the other thing is, I remember taking a time seminar class one time at the NAR convention, and it was in Anaheim many years ago. My daughter was, well, she about 15 months old. And because it was my ex and we went, my daughter, and so the guy in the time management class says, he goes, this was the first day of the event, so yesterday before would have been the travel day, and he says, work every day like you do the day before you go out of town. So do you ever notice that when you're the day before you go out of town, you have a list of things to do that is a mile long? And you manage to get it all done. Imagine if you worked like that, twice a week. If you just did that twice a week, imagine if you did that. It'd be amazing. The amount of production you could get done in that short period of time. So, excuse me. So, great win, JC, on writing an offer. Got a backup offer and another offer. Anybody else got any wins out there?
The condo that I had listed went under contract last night.
Sweet.
Woo-hoo.
So was that with the cash buyer, or did you finally get them under contract?
Yeah, they're doing financing, but after 4 counter offers, we finally concluded last night.
Sweet. Yeah, I knew they were going to buy it. That's why I said don't give them all or nothing. Just counter and keep. The thing is, when you get an offer on the table, people don't make offers because they don't want the place, right? So if someone makes an offer, they actually want the place. So with that said, you got to get it going back and forth and get it swinging, and get some momentum going to where you finally get it. When that's what happened with you, you went back and forth, and then. But the trick is to create momentum so that between the buyer and the seller, a little this, a little that, a little this, a little that, bang, you're under contract. So always assume when you have an offer on the table that you got something. I mean, now there are times when you get those shotgun offers where, they just, agents and or investors just run 50 offers out there to see what sticks. I mean, that's obviously that's the exception to the rule. But when you have a straight up home buyer actually make an offer, gives you earnest money. So then, what do you call it? You got to believe that they want the property and that they're willing to negotiate. You just have to believe. So. Anyway, well, good job, Richard. Good job, JC. Anybody else have anything going on? Danae just joined us in there. Danae, any wins since our last call last Monday?
I had a closing this last week.
We like closings.
Yeah.
Closings are, and here comes Robin. Robin's rolling in. So I got to start telling everybody the meeting's at 8:55, so that way it'll be 8 or 9. So, good morning, Robin.
Good morning. That's my fault, Rob.
Wins.
I was talking to Robin. Sorry.
So both of you. That's why you're both coming in late. You're both coming in late, giggling. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rob.
So, Robin, tell us. We're going through some wins. Tell us about your wins.
I had a great listing appointment on Saturday, and then I've got another listing appointment today, kind of randomly. But yeah.
Where did that come from? Where did the random listing appointment come from? I don't believe in random. I just believe that we don't always understand the organization of the universe, but nothing's random.
Yeah, that's probably true. So I guess they'd seen a house I had for sale last summer in Draper, and then I think what happened is they saw my picture on Zillow, so it was kind of like those 2 points of reference made them reach out and call me, I think is what happened. Right. I know they saw the house in Draper for sale because that's how they called me, but then later I had seen that they had called through Zillow, which I didn't know at first. Right. So anyway, so hopefully it will be a good listing appointment today.
Great. Yeah. And you're all prepared, right? You know what to say.
I'm all prepared because you are such a good teacher. Yes.
And you all know what the so and we forgot. You got my email. I saying we forgot to go over that one dialogue, right?
Mhm.
So I want to share the one dialogue we forgot to go over. It's either in this one little script. It's either my most favorite script in all the world, or it's my least favorite script in all the world. It just depends on which end of the phone call I'm on. And I'll explain how that works. So you're on a listing appointment. They really like what you have to say. And the seller says, well, we're still going to interview this other agent. And then you could say, oh, okay, that's no problem. You're going to interview another agent. Well, no, as your agent, I'll actually handle that appointment for you. Would you like to know what I'm going to say? And they go, well, of course. Well, let's hear what you have to say. So you could say, hey, I call up Rob and say, hey, Rob, this is or I call Robin. Hey, Robin, Rob Aubrey here. I just left the Joneses' house, and they decided to list their home with me, and I just wanted to let you know that so that you can go ahead and cancel your appointment. But if you have any buyers, the house will be on the market on Wednesday, and there'll be a key box. I just wanted to give you first shot of any showings, okay? So if you do that for sellers, they'll be like, oh, okay. Because they don't want to cancel the appointment. Because then they got to deal with the pressure of the agent, and then let the agent know we do have a contract. So that contacting them would be a violation of the fiduciary. It would be a violation of code of ethics. So you don't tell them that, but I mean, But the idea is that it's a lot easier for us to cancel the appointment for them than it is for them, because they may not sign because they had the appointment. And I'm like, screw that. If that's all that's stopping us, I'll cancel the appointment. Now, like I said, it just depends on what end of the phone conversation you're on, whether it's your favorite script or not, right? Because the fact that they listed with me, that's my favorite script. So if I'm getting the call that they listed with the other agent, not my favorite script. So anyway, so we went through some good stuff with Robin and I. We met on Saturday and got her all prepared. And so she had a great appointment. The only thing that's holding back the seller right now is their offer changed where they may not have to move out of state. But other than that, it appears Robin will be getting the listing. So
awesome.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and then through just conversation, Robin has Zillow reviews, right? You can create a Google profile, and you can get Google reviews, right? You can get people to write reviews on Google. And then, so one of the things we thought, we were just chatting, and you know how my brain works. My brain just goes, right? And I came up with the idea, why don't you go out and buy the domain, robinsreviews.com, right? And it just forward that domain to any review page you have. So if you don't have Zillow reviews, go get Google reviews and get clients, and offer clients, hey, if past clients, so send out a letter to all your past clients, right? A handwritten card or whatever. Please, I worked with you in the past. I would love it if you gave me a Google review. You send them the link and say, if you give me a Google review, your name will be entered into a $100 drawing. And then to give away $100 and get as many people as you can to give you a review, and then you could do the same thing, DenaysReviews.com, right? JC'sReviews.com, because I'll bet those domains are available. So then what you do is you make sure that signature or that email or that URL is at the bottom of all your signature files, right? CharlesReviews.coms, right? things like that. So, and then people can click on that, and then they can go and read your reviews. So anyway, just something that just it's they call it the mastermind when when two minds get together trying to achieve the same thing. It actually creates a third mind. That's a mastermind. I've been reading the book, or actually listening to the book. I'm on my third time straight in a row. When I finish it up, I just start over, and it's the book Think and Grow Rich. And I have a paper book copy, but then I went online and found a large print copy so now I have it in an 8.5 by 11 size book that's got large print and that's easy to underline. It's got big margins, you can write notes on it. But I'm going to actually listen to it 5 times in a row. And one of the things they talk about in the book is a mastermind group, where a mastermind group is 2 or more people committed to increase, the outcome of something, right? So when we get together on a coaching call, we're actually masterminding. So, but again, the two minds together creates an additional mind, the third eye, or whatever you want to call it. So, but I would encourage everybody, if you've never read the book, it was published in like 1936, 1937. It was what they call everybody that's done a self-improvement on how to get rich today, it started from that book. This is the book that they all study and then go out and write their own books and seminars. So you might as well read from the original text, right? And if you listen to the book, it actually has parts where Napoleon Hill, where they embed some audio of Napoleon Hill actually speaking. So he tells the story of he has a son. So one of the things he talks about is definite of purpose. So definite of purpose, you've got to know the outcome, right? So meaning you just have to know. So he had a son that was born without ears, and they told him he would never hear. He'd be a deaf mute. And he just simply told the doctor, my son will have he'll have 100% hearing. He'll never be a deaf mute. So they worked with him. He said he prayed every day for 4 hours, prayed and worked with the son every day for 4 hours. By the time he was a certain age, he had 65% of his hearing. He went to college, and there was a hearing aid company that heard about him, and they took on the case, and they were able to create a hearing aid for this guy, special made hearing aids, gave him the balance of 35% of his hearing. So here he was in the college, but he knew the outcome, right? I mean, that was the king. So he tells these many, many, many stories where the outcome was already known. So if you want to reach your goals, so if you want to do 12 deals, if you want to do 24 deals, it doesn't matter. If you want to make $1 million, doesn't matter what it is. You just have to know what it is, right? So whatever it is, whatever specifically you want, and you got to be real specific. And that's one of the things that, that keeps pounding in your head. Definite of purpose. You have to know exactly what it is. You can't just say, I want to make a lot of money. That's not specific. You can say, I want to make $1 million by a certain date. And then you write it down. Then you write down what it is you're willing to do to get that money. Now, I don't mean you have to write down a daily business plan, but what is it that you're willing to do? Are you willing to give? Are you willing to offer the great, superior service to buyers and sellers in real estate? That's what you're willing to do, right? So if you want to make this much money, if you want to close this many deals, then you got to write it down. And you have to have it written down, and you need to write it down every day, what you're going to do. Every morning when you wake up, you need to write down the goal, and you need to write down the date that that goal will be reached or achieved. And then you have to write down what it is you're willing to do. I'm willing to provide just amazing service to buyers and sellers, and things like that, whatever it is. So it doesn't matter what it is, whatever it is for you, it's perfect, right? So, but the point is, you have to write it down every day. Every day when you wake up, you have to write it down every night before you go to bed. So, and you want to recite it over and over as you're going to sleep. Don't count sheep. State your statement over and over and over. I want to make X amount of dollars by such and such a date, and I'm willing to do this. Those are the sheep you count. So as you start to say that, that's called auto-suggestion. So what's happening is you eventually have to program your subconscious, and then eventually your subconscious will start to take over, and then it will come to fruition. But you can never doubt. That's the other one he talks about. He has a whole chapter on faith. Faith is, he goes, we're always taught faith. It's taught about faith. You must have faith in this, faith in that, faith in this, and faith in that. He goes, but we're never taught how to have faith. We're never taught really how to do faith. Think about that. And I thought about that and said, wow. And he's so right. I mean, when was the last time you actually had a class on here's how you have faith? And I thought that was very, very interesting. So you have to have definite purpose, and you have to have faith that it's going to happen. If you start doubting, then you're not having faith, right? The moment you doubt, then no longer you have faith. So you have to have faith. You cannot doubt the outcome. Once you doubt the outcome, it's over. And so those of you who may or may not know, I am a fire walker. I have the T-shirt 2003. It was in New York. Well, it was actually in New Jersey in the Meadowlands. You fly into New York. But it was a Tony Robbins event where you walk across hot coals. And if you want to watch Oprah Winfrey do it, you just Google Oprah Tony Robbins fire walk, and you'll see a video of Oprah doing it. Of course, they didn't have all the fanfare when I did it that Oprah had, but I mean, she's there, and he gets her in her state of mind. But the key to doing a fire walk, and we did it the first night, right? So JC said she's done it too. So the key to firewalking, right, is the way we practice and the way we trained to firewalk was we actually spent most of the night celebrating that we've already done it. So that way in our mind, we knew the outcome. We knew, we were definite. So, I mean, as I listened, I'm on my third time listening to this book in a row. And I mean, I walk an hour every day, and I listen to a book when I walk. And so I've listened to this book, I mean, every day for an hour, and then when it's over, I just hit, beginning and start over. And I'm on my third go-around, and he talks about definite purpose and knowing the outcome and faith. And and what he teaches is the exact principles of firewalking. You have to know the outcome, and you got to be willing to do it. And you just get in your state, and you just go, and that's it. And it's amazing. You just do it, and when you're at the end, you're like, because you when you're done, you land on a piece of grass, and you got a couple guys they grab you because you're just so focused, you're not even aware of your surrounding. And although there's 1,000 people there, and there's flames, and there's multiple fire paths going on, and there's all kinds of chanting and excitement going on, and you're not even aware. I mean, you just walk from one end to the other, and two guys grab you and stop you, and you're standing on the grass, and you're like, holy crap, I just did it. You're just freaked out. But the point is, you had to know the outcome, and you had to have the faith that was going to happen. So if you want to make, a certain amount of money, if you want to make, close a certain amount of transactions, so then you just have to have the faith you're going to do it. You have to have a definite purpose, right? You need to be absolutely clear what it is you want, and then you have to have the faith you're going to do it. And you just have to know the outcome. You have to see yourself in the position. So in other words, if you right now, let's just say it's December 31st, and you just closed 24 transactions, right? You just had your last transaction closed, on December 30th, it funded and recorded on the 31st, and your average commission, say, was $8,000. So you just closed, let me get my calculator out. So $8,000 times 24 transactions, right? What is that? No, that didn't come out right. I don't know what happened there. So $8,000 times 24, it's $192,000, right? So if you earned $192,000 from now to the end of the year, and you took out your taxes and your expenses, how much, and your living expenses and your business expenses, how much money would you have left over? It would be easy to say that everybody on this call could have $100,000 left over, cash, $100,000, right? If you close 24 acts. Now the point is, now that it's not going to be everybody's goal, but the point is, you have to be able to visualize yourself on December 31st that you closed 24 transactions, you grossed $192,000, and after taxes, business expenses, and living expenses, you net it, or you have 75,000 cash in the bank. How would it feel? Right, make a mock bank statement so that you can see what that looks like and look at that bank statement every day, right? You got to burn it in your subconscious that this is what's going to happen. So, because life is coming at you at a bazillion miles an hour, and everybody's coming at you, especially moms more than dads, is, life is coming at you with many, you're getting tugged in many directions from children, and that's just the way it goes. So, and that will take everything away from your what do you call it? Your ability to stay focused on this. So you have to burn it into your subconscious. So that's the only way you're going to reach goals. So that's why it's called Think and Grow Rich, right? Think and Grow Rich. And even one of the things he talked about was, they all say the harder you work, the more money you make. And he goes, well, there's some truth to that. He goes, but to make real money, it's not about working harder. He's not saying don't work hard. That's not the message. But it's think and grow rich, not work harder and grow rich. Think and grow rich, right? And so as you burn this in your subconscious, and then you get in mastermind, the ways of making more money, the ways of doing more deals will just come naturally. The world, your mind will start to pick up what other people are laying out there in their mind, right? I mean, people think things, and your mind can pick up what other people are thinking. They call it telepathy, right? Now, we all have it to some degree or another. We're just not aware of it, and we don't really get it. The other thing was no negative thoughts. You can't have any negative thoughts. You have to learn to just get rid of every negative thought. You ever ask me how I'm doing, and if you ask me how I'm doing, what do I use to respond? I always say I'm amazing, or I even say I choose today to be amazing. But I say that every day, right? I'm amazing. How do you decide to be today? But and so the purpose of that is not for me to tell you how I am. It's for me to burn it into my subconscious more and more and more. That's what I'm doing. So, think about it. And I do it at the grocery store. People look at, and they kind of because everybody's ready for the normal, yeah, fine, how are you? Or, same crap, new day. And I'm like, oh, boy. When I hear same crap, new day, I'm like, that doesn't sound like a person I feel like hanging around with, right? That's like, I need to stay far away from that person, right? Because if that's their outlook on life, it's like, well, I don't want that energy flowing into my mind, But it's amazing when someone says to you, how are you? And you just look them dead in the eye and go, today I choose to be amazing. How do you choose to be? And you could just see them go, huh? You're just, because they're so used to, fine, how are you, blah, blah, blah. You can go through the whole ritual of hi, how are you, back and forth, without even adding one thought to it. And I say it with enthusiasm. Are you kidding me? I'm freaking amazing. How do you choose to be? So start with something like that, right? Instead of going through the ritual of, same thing, different day, blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants to be around that kind of energy, right? So if Winnie the Pooh had a brokerage, Tigger would be the top producer, and Eeyore would be the old guy that walks around the office with a cup of coffee. He talks about the deal he did 35 years ago. That would be the company, right? So, and that would be it. But Tigger would be the top producer. Bing, bing, bing. He's just running around. He's happy. He's ready to go. So anyway, I know that was a tangent. I wasn't prepared to go into that lesson today. It just kind of worked itself out. So I don't know if you know that, but the only agenda I bring for this call is tell me some wins, tell me some struggles, and tell me some lessons you learned, and that, and then the rest of it, I just whatever comes to me is what I roll with. So we went through the wins. Anybody have any struggles last week? So how about learning? Did you learn anything? So Richard, you had to learn something, right, and going back and forth with that offer, right? Amy said she has a new list. Is that a listing or a new list?
No, I learned a lot last week, Rob, about just patience.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, I mean, it was a frustrating ordeal to some degree because of the email messages or text messages back and forth and what they were asking. And I was dealing with the parents more than I was with the sons. So, but as we discussed Thursday or Friday, it was just about let them make the offer, do a counter, and wait and see. So,
Right.
in our conversation, you were absolutely correct. And so they came around and agreed to what the seller was asking for.
Right.
So it was a learning. Every transaction is a learning opportunity for an agent, particularly a newer one like myself, because every scenario has the potential of being different.
Right, right. Well, and again, and then it's back and forth, right? So again, when someone actually makes an offer and puts earnest money on the table, you have to believe they want it. And so, so your frustration was, it was back and forth. Well, that's it. That's the nature of the game. So the trick is sometimes, and because they didn't have an agent on the other end, they were an unrepresented buyer, you really couldn't get a hold of them and start advising them on how to make a good offer. So, so in other words, if there was another agent on the other end, you might not have had quite as many addenda going back and forth. However, but that's no big deal. So what?
Well, I wasn't concerned about it was having to deal with the son and then a couple of hours later dealing with the father and then dealing with the mother. So I'm dealing with three different people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're all on three different pages. And I'm saying, folks,
right.
The son is buying the home.
That's when you put them in a group text and a group email.
Yeah.
But, so you got both sides of the commission. And as far as I'm concerned, some of the easiest money you ever made. So.
I agree.
So Rob, on I don't know the word you use, disappointments or whatever. I feel like I'm sure I'm exactly like everyone else. Like I spend a ton of time working on stuff that goes absolutely nowhere.
Right.
But I try to always, every time something kind of fails, I just always tell myself, like, I'm grateful for every experience, even the failing ones, because either I've gotten to learn a new area or I realized I did something wrong in speaking with them or what. I mean, there's always something to be learned. And I just try to always look at every failure. I never consider it a failure because every single time there is a failure, I've always learned something that makes me better for the next time.
Right. There's no such thing as failure. There's just different ways it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to look at it.
Right, because failure is a negative thing. So we're going to eliminate the negative from the conversation. So that's Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison said, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just figured out 10,000 ways that the incandescent light doesn't work.
Yeah, that's good.
And he says, and the reason why he was able to invent it was because there were no more ways left that it didn't work.
Love that.
So it had, so his last one was, and that's the truth. So always, and I mean always assume that if you didn't get a listing for, or a deal, whatever, always assume that you could learn something from it. So like when I was running a team and an agent would come back, I'm like, what happened to the appointment? Well, they would, they always had an excuse of why they wouldn't sign with them. I'm like, no, I said, no, we got to figure out what it was that we can improve so that they will sign the next time, right? So if your initial reaction and you had the perfect mindset, Robin, is to say, okay, what could I learn from that? So all I want to do is add a couple little tweaks to that. Instead of saying failure, we didn't fail, we just discovered a way it didn't work. So that's not a failure, that's a discovery. And so, but agents, when they go right into the excuse of why it was the other person for whatever reason, and it's like, no, it's like you missed something. Well, we had to figure out what is it you missed. Was the timing right? Were they looking for something different? I mean, maybe they just didn't want to list with you. I mean, it's just that simple. And is that a possibility? Yeah. But then if they didn't want to list with you, why not? Why they list with somebody else? Why did they list with somebody else? Well, the other agent said they do open house. It's like, well, you're like, well, I would have done it. I'll do open house too. But did they know that? Right? So that's why you got to make everything a learned experience rather than a failure. It's not a failure. It's a learned experience, right? Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, says every deal you ever do, you either learn or make money, right? So if you didn't make any money, you sure learned something. Learn how. So anyway, so that's the same principle. But think about that. Think about Thomas Edison. 10,000 different ways he figured out, it was like 10,000 times before he got the light. So he's talked about that in Think and Grow Rich because he had definite purpose. He had faith. He just knew he knew it could be done. He just hadn't figured it out yet. Imagine that 10,000 times. How many people here? I mean, agents, they tried something twice. I mean, or the age-old, the Mike Ferry joke. I tried that once. It didn't work. Once. How about trying 10,000 times? Persistence is, the persistence is what's going to make you reach your goals. It doesn't matter.
Rob,
Every day you start at zero, and you got to start with, and you got to be persistent. Somebody had something to say there?
Yeah, Rob, I have a quick question for you. So in following up with for sale by owners, and if you're texting them and they shoot back a text and they say, do you have a buyer? I'm calling them to get the listing.
Right.
But if they say, do you have a buyer, how would you advise that we respond to
Well, yeah. So typically for sale by owners are internal processors, so which means they're a know-it-all. That's why they're doing it themselves. They're like, I can do this. I'm a know-it-all, right? So the first thing you have to say to them is, of course you know. So when you tell a know-it-all, of course they knew something. Now it's an impossibility for them not to have known that. So you say, of course you know I haven't seen your home yet. Take me 5 minutes to take a quick look at it. I can share it with the buyers I'm working with and any new buyers that come into my system. When is a good time to get together with you? Monday or Tuesday at 4.
Perfect. I like that. Thank you.
Because if you say no or I don't know, you're dead. So you cannot answer no or I don't know. Of course you know I have not seen your home yet. It'll take me 5 minutes to take a quick look at it. That way I can share it with the buyers I'm working with and any new buyers that come into my system. Which is better for you, Monday or Tuesday at 4. And that comes from knowing your scripts. So 99% of everything, all your fears, is not knowing what to say. That is why I'm gonna push hard. They finally got the dates for the productivity school. It's a hotel out by the airport, which is where they usually wind up doing it. And let's see, it's February or March something. I'll send out information when I get back. So it's the Tuesday through Friday, so March 26th through March 29th. And that's like I said, it's $3.99. And then if we get 10 people to go, we get $100 off each. So it'll be like $2.99 or $3.50, whatever it is. It's $100 off. And this is the class I'm here to tell you I've taken the first time, April 15th, 1998. I know the date. It's etched in my mind. It's a pivotal moment in my life. Okay? It is a pivotal moment in my life that this class that I'm encouraging everyone to go. I know we did a show of hands. We had about 6 or 7. I know I can go on the Facebook group, pick up 3 more or more. We can get to, we can get $100 off. So the way it'll work is you guys will pay me, and then when you paid me, and then when we get as soon as we get our 10, then I'll go ahead and and I'll call us in and pay for everybody to go. I plan to go. So I'm going to lead the charge. I am going to go to this. And this is one of those classes where we don't sit together. You go and sit with total strangers. When you go in the room, I want you to pick out the person you would never, ever, 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 ever talk to in your whole life, and I want you to sit beside them. I want you to go to lunch with that person. And I want you to ask them questions about them. I want you to discover things about them that will totally destroy the perception you had of them because you looked at the way they dressed, the way they said it, or whatever, and you made up this whole litany of who they are and what they're about. And then when you actually meet that person and sit down and actually conversation with that person, and then find out they were nothing like your mind went to, and that is a valuable lesson to learn. So that, and we'll talk more about that when time comes. So anyway, but that's it for today. And so the three things we want to think, things we learned, right? So things we learned and things we struggle with. So
Rob, when was that date again?
It's the last week of March, so Tuesday through Friday. So the 26th through the 29th.
Thank you.
And it's here in Salt Lake. I've never been to a productivity school that was in the town I lived in. So this productivity school is going to cost me a few $100s, where every other one, I was paying $1,000 a month in coaching, so the class was free, but I was paying $1,000 a month, and I had to fly somewhere, and I had to stay at the hotel, and I had to eat 3 meals a day. So it's, and if you really want to get a full experience, stay at the hotel where it's at and just don't go home. Just wake up in the morning and go to the class. And then, because there'll be other people that are staying at the hotel. You'll actually get to hang out with people if you want to get the full experience. Because as soon as you leave the class, because to get the full experience, you hang out with other people. You'll see people in hallways and lobbies. They'll be role playing with each other. It's amazing. And you meet a lot of people. Collect as many business cards as you can so that you can create role play partners. Right? We talked about that. The people say, I don't use scripts, right? So everybody says that, I don't use scripts, right? And y'all know the scene Jack Nicholson in the movie A Few Good Men, where he's sitting on the witness stand and he's testifying, and he did his speech. I mean, was that one of the most awesomest speeches in the world? Now, do you think he just got up there and winged it? No, that was written by another party, and he internalized that script, got up there, and you would swear it was him, right? But that's the point. That's the power of internalizing your scripts. When people do these scenes, these amazing scenes in movies, they internalize the script. They didn't write it. Now, there is some ad-libbing and stuff like that, but it's very, very, very few of the big actors that get away with ad-libbing and are even allowed to do it. So anyway, so that's kind of it on that. So that's all I got. Anybody got any questions? If not, I'm going to get going because I have to prepare for my 10 o'clock call.
No, this was great. Thanks, Rob.
Have an awesome day. And then I will, next time I talk to you will be maybe late Monday afternoon next week or Tuesday morning. So see you guys.
Bye, Rob. Thanks, Rob.
See ya.